Welcome to another edition of Hollywood Hoops, Laid Back Reaction. I'm Josh Martin of Lonzo Wire. He's Eric Pincus of Basketball Insiders and Bleacher Report. And today's episode is brought to you, as always, by High Five. High Five makes meetings awesome with insanely simple video conferencing designed for your meeting rooms. It's the easiest to use solution thanks to their all-in-one hardware and intuitive cloud software. Plus, it's a high-quality experience with industry-leading audio powered by Dolby Voice. It's so easy to use that there's no PIN codes or app downloads. Just click a link in your browser and you're in the meeting. Even the least techie person at your company can figure it out.
With customers in over 100 countries, High Five is already trusted by the likes of Warby Parker, Harry's, Betterment, and the Girl Scouts of Northern California. To learn more and start your 30-day free trial of insanely simple video conferencing, visit highfive.com. That is highfive.com, and we are indeed recording this conversation via High Five. So, Josh, how you doing? We're back in business post All-Star break.
Yep, we're back on the right track, and so is Lonzo Ball now. He's back with the Lakers, made his long-awaited return, almost 6 weeks gone, in the Lakers win over the Dallas Mavericks on Friday, 124-102. He didn't play a ton, Eric, only 17 minutes. They're trying to ease him back into the mix of things here, but he had a productive 17 minutes, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He had a nice three-pointer off of a pass from Brandon Ingram on his first possession back. You know, it's interesting, when I saw him in that game, just watching him, it made me flash back to early in the season when, Lonzo was good, but he certainly looked like a guy who was still trying to find his way, was very hesitant, whereas coming back from this injury now, it seems like he was confident, he was out there, he wasn't hesitating, he wasn't thinking twice, he was making good decisions, he was doing good things with the ball.
Hold on a second here. Come here. Keep going, Josh.
Doing great things with the ball and, really helping the team. Now, Eric, what did you think of what you saw? I assume you were at Staples Center for that game.
Josh,
yeah?
I don't know if you're paying attention to the camera here, but this is Bailey, as you know, and she decided to visit our video. So this is just a cameo, though, so say hi. Okay, and I'm going to hand her off to one of my daughters. We don't have to stop. Why not? It's a Sunday. This is a laid-back reaction, so we can go natural here. I don't know if you could hear the dog barking, but under the table, she had a little...
It's all good. Bailey wants to jump in. She wants to be a star. I understand.
Yes. So here's the thing. The Lakers got Lonzo back. They needed him badly, and when he first went down, they were god-awful bad. I mean, they were terrible. They couldn't play any defense. But he was gone long enough, and after a couple weeks, even less, they started to figure out how do you play basketball without Lonzo Ball. And the answer was, after experimenting with Alex Caruso and Tyler Ennis, the answer was have Brandon Ingram play point guard, start Josh Hart, who's been fantastic. And so they found a way to make it work, and now you've got Lonzo back, so they need to integrate him, and then also they made the big trade, so they don't have Larry Nance anymore. They don't have Jordan Clarkson, but Isaiah Thomas is kind of slotting right into that role, and they've been getting some good minutes out of Vita Zubats, where Larry played, so they're figuring it out. And now Lonzo comes back. I thought that he had an all-around good game. He did a bit of everything. He rebounded. He passed the ball well. He didn't play big minutes. He hit some good shots. If he can, he's been a good shooter other than the first, I don't know the exact period of time, definitely a month. He was a terrible shooter, like historically bad shooter. But since then, he's been very steady, especially on catch and shoot. And against Dallas, like Dirk was playing off of him, and you can't. If he can be a player who you can't play off of, then he's going to be a really powerful point guard in this league. Even if he can't score, attacking the baskets like a traditional modern point guard. He's more of a traditional point guard, and so I think he's showed a really nice flash of coming back and what the Lakers could be. They just have to figure out how to integrate him back into the starting lineup, and how does that work for Brandon Ingram, who's been great as that de facto point guard.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting. I guess it's a good problem to have if you're Luke Walton, that you have these types of decisions to make. But the one decision that he made a while back that's really paying off dividends and is helping the team to a huge extent is Julius Randle being in the starting lineup. In that game where Lonzo came back, I know that was the headline, but really the big story of that game was Julius Randle having his first triple-double of the season, the fifth of his career. Then he comes back the next night in Sacramento. Lonzo sits because he's still working his way back. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope goes off for 34 points. But then again, there's Julius Randle again, making big plays, picking up another double-double with 6 assists. He's really been an interesting impact player. And Eric, I know we've talked extensively about how the Lakers want to go after these 2 max free agents this summer, that they're going to have to essentially get rid of Julius Randle. But do you think now, seeing what they've gotten out of Randle and what Randle's become, and considering that he's still a very young player, that maybe he's changing their thinking a little bit?
Well, it's a question, I think, of how do you get rid of the contract of Luol Deng, right? So there's different ways. One is just stretching it out. And if they go get, let's say LeBron says he wants to come and Paul George. So I'm not saying they do, but let's say that now you need to have $65 million roughly in cap room to pay those guys. That's really difficult. And then if you get, say, DeMarcus Cousins, if he were healthy, and which he's not, and Paul George, that's $60 million. So obviously that's changed a little bit now. DeMarcus is probably staying in New Orleans speculatively. But there's some issue there. And so how do you get rid of Luol Deng? You can stretch him, pay him out his salary, which is owed for 2 more years over 5. I had written an article on a legal technicality that they may be able to extend him and then stretch him out over 11 years, and that would give them extra money. But really the best of all moves is to get him off your books. Julius Randle takes up $12.4 million unsigned, right? So you can sign him for less than that. You can sign him for more than that. But if you're signing him for more than that, you sign him last. So let's say he's worth $18 million in the first year. They hold on to him at 12.4, sign him last at 18. They're fine. They can pay up to $25 million after. Mm-hmm. But you have to have that 12.4 in space, and that's the problem. So maybe they look at their draft picks. They have the Cleveland pick. They have their own pick in 2019. They have their own. They could really trade any pick. You can't trade any 2 consecutive future picks in a row, so they can't trade the Cleveland pick and then their next year Lakers pick, but they could trade, in theory, 2018 Cavs, 2020 Lakers. Maybe they're willing to do that if they feel like Julius Randle's better at a good contract, an expensive contract, but a good one, is more valuable than those draft picks, at which point you go and solicit, is there a trade to be had? Is there a team like Atlanta, Sacramento, some other team that has the cap room that really would value to get 2 more first-round picks? Maybe that's an avenue. Obviously, it's tricky, and it's he's been great. I thought at a certain point in the season when he was coming off the bench that he was so productive because maybe because he was playing against second-line guys, and that as a starter, maybe he's just not a starter. But I think that he's shown that he can be a starting power forward in this league. He can play both ways. He's got obviously some flaws like every human being and every basketball player. He's going to get you 1 or 2 charges, offensive charges, automatically every game. But beyond that, I think he's been absolutely terrific. And I will say one last thing. Josh, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hasn't exactly won over, I think, the Laker fans. But if you look at his month of December, when he was going through his legal trouble, he was terrible that month. But he's been pretty solid throughout the rest of the time. And it's certainly understandable. These players are not robots; they're human beings, and so he had a hard time with that.
Yeah, it's interesting how those guys have come on, given their respective circumstances. Obviously, KCP with some more serious legal stuff, Julius Randle, adjusting to coming off the bench, and now obviously getting plenty comfortable as a starter. The Lakers have made some great strides this season. They're going to have to think long and hard about how drastic the changes are that they're going to make. Obviously, it's going to depend on who wants to come in free agency. If LeBron and Paul George want to come, you better roll out that red carpet for them because you want those guys on your team. But this group, as is, has made some great progress. If they win on Monday at the Atlanta Hawks on the road, the Hawks have the worst record in the Eastern Conference. The Lakers win there, they'll have as many wins as they had all of last season, and it's not even the end of February yet. So I think that in itself says a lot about where the Lakers are, where they're headed. They're going in the right direction. They're on the right path. The question, I guess, going forward is who's going to join them on that path? Is it going to be, how many of those guys on that path are going to be ones that in Lakers, that you see in Lakers colors right now? That's still to be determined. That's a few months off here, but we'll just have to wait and see. But Eric, thanks again for hopping on. Thank you all for watching us here on this edition of Hollywood Hoops Laid Back Reaction presented by High Five. I'm Josh Martin of Lonzo Wire. He's Eric Pincus of Basketball Insiders and Bleacher Report, and we'll be with you again soon.
on his wrist, going to Hollywood, he's busting into Hollywood.